Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Mercedes Lain case. She is an 11-month-old little girl that was reported missing in Indiana this past week. So let's get into it. This beautiful little girl is 11-month-old Mercedes Lain. She was reported missing last weekend in Plymouth, Indiana. And Wednesday they found her body. Her parents and the babysitter, who is related to one of the parents, have all three been arrested, and I have the probable cause affidavit, and we'll go over that too. But I'm going to read this story for you guys first. Missing 11-month-old Mercedes Lain found dead. The FBI announced on Wednesday that Mercedes Lain, who had been missing for several days in Indiana, has been found dead. As previously reported, authorities issued a silver alert this weekend after the child was reported missing from Plymouth. Police have since arrested both Lain's parents and their friend Justin Lee Miller, who was reportedly supposed to be babysitting the child at the time of her disappearance. In a Twitter post, the FBI announced that Lain's body had been found in a wooded area in Stark County. And this is from the Indianapolis FBI agency. Our sincerest thank you to everyone who helped in the search for 11-month-old Mercedes Lain or called in tips. Sadly, she was found deceased in a wooded area in Stark County last night. 37-year-old Justin Miller will be charged with neglect of a dependent resulting in death. And that was from the FBI. According to Fox 59, Miller led police to Lain's body in the remote area. He is expected to be charged with neglect of a dependent resulting in death, and he has. Police said at a news conference Thursday that drugs may be involved in Lain's death. A cause of death is pending a completed autopsy. This is a developing story, and I'm going to show you guys that press conference in full at the end. So if you don't want to sit through the whole press conference, you don't have to. So, like I said, we're going to go through the probable cause affidavit. So basically, this little girl's parents, from what I've gathered, the story is they took this beautiful little girl to Justin Miller. People are saying it's a friend of the family. Some sources are saying he's actually related to them. I don't know. He has previous child neglect charges, not resulting in death that I'm aware of, but he does have a nice background check full of tickets, drug problems, and also child neglect. So he's been charged with the neglect of a child resulting in death, which they say he can be facing jail time between 20 and 40 years. What they charged the parents for, however, and I fully expect more charges are coming, is just a level 6 neglect. And the most that they can get for the charges that they have right now are 2 years. Yeah, so from what I can tell, they took Mercedes to Justin Miller and said they just, quote, needed a break for a few days. There have been witnesses who said that they have checked into the hotel for the weekend, that they saw them, and that the mother, Tiffany Coburn, was hysterical and very upset all weekend. According to the story, I guess they called 911 and reported her missing, and then they disappeared, which landed it in the grandmother and the sister. From what I can tell, it's Tiffany's mom and sister who actually did the initial press conference with the police, reporting that she was missing and gave them information. The police had a really hard time getting a hold of Tiffany and Kenneth Lain, Mercedes' parents. They seem to be on the run. They say that drugs are definitely involved in both the parents and the babysitter. I guess the babysitter, let's not even call him that. Justin Miller has admitted allegedly to have been on some drugs over the weekend. He is reported to have gone between maybe his girlfriend's house and another friend's house, and they said that they did verify that happened and the little girl was alive at that point. The police are not saying what he's admitted to. They aren't even saying that he admitted to killing her. It's just that his story is he woke up, she was dead, and so he disposed of her body in a wooded area. And he did take police to the wooded area where they recovered her body. As of the time of the press conference, which I believe was yesterday, no, Friday, I'm sorry, the autopsy had not been performed yet, so Cause of death is not there. Manner of death is not there. There aren't very many charges, obviously. They said that they don't have any indication that the parents knew or had anything to do with her death. The police officer that spoke said that the family members, the grandmother and the aunt, were notified, and they were very, very upset. And he also said that her parents were very upset. I've got their mugshot. I'll put that up. They do look upset. I've had a personal experience of this where some drug addict family members came to us with their baby, who was only 9 months old at the time. One of their friends had a drug overdose, and they said they just needed a break. They just needed us to take her so that they could go to a hotel and they could grieve properly, whatever that meant. And that led us into a year-long social worker nightmare emergency custody situation. I'll leave that at that. So this is not as uncommon as people would think it is. Parents have young babies, get wound up in drugs, and this is what happens. The parents both have a long history of drugs. So did this guy that they took her to. This little girl really didn't have a chance. I'm not saying anything about the grandma and the aunt. I have no idea what the living situation, the family situation, why they didn't take her to somebody that could have taken better care of her. I can't answer that. Desperate people, especially on drugs, make really bad decisions, and unfortunately this is the consequences of some of those bad decisions. So as more of this unfolds, I'm sure we'll get more of a timeline. We'll find out some more stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and go over the probable cause affidavit, and I'll show you the press conference after they found her, and they're answering all the questions that they can. Okay, so we're going to start with number 2. On August 15th, 2021, Plymouth police officer Krynock was dispatched to the Economy Inn at 2535 North Michigan Road, room 246, for a missing 11-month-old girl. The father, Kenneth Lain, and the mother, Tiffany Coburn, had left a family relative, Justin Miller, to care of Mercedes for a few days so the parents could have a break. This would have been Friday, August 13th. Miller was supposed to bring Mercedes back the following day. Then it was decided that Miller would bring her back to the parents on Sunday. Both parents attempted to get a hold of Miller numerous times and could not contact him. They finally contacted him on Sunday, August 15th, and Miller advised that he had dropped Mercedes off with a neighbor since Lain and Coburn weren't home. No one has seen Mercedes since. Another neighbor contacted officers and advised Tiffany brought over a duffel bag with something in it and asked them to watch it because they needed to call police about their missing baby. The duffel bag contained a safe. It is believed that the safe contains illegal narcotics. A silver alert was declared for Miller and Mercedes approximately at 3:30 a.m. on August 16th. Miller was located in Stark County at a residence belonging to Paul Coffin. He was then brought to the Plymouth Police Department so I could interview him. I advised Miller of his rights, to which he waived. He stated that on Thursday, August 12th, he was contacted by Kenneth Lain about buying some synthetic marijuana. The conversation then turned to the rough time they were having with Mercedes. Miller advised and told them that he would watch her for a few days so they could have a break. Miller's recollection of events changed several times. At first, he thought they went to a McDonald's at Coons Lake and stayed at the Coffin residence for a few days. He then changed his story to going to his girlfriend Katie Moat's residence in Mishawaka, and then back to the Coffin residence after he got kicked out of Moat's house on Saturday. After being kicked out of the house, he dropped Mercedes off at the Economy Inn with a shorter, heavy-set white female that he had seen on several occasions in Kenneth and Tiffany's room. He did not know her name, and no one was at the room, so he thought it would be okay because he had an appointment to go to. He thought this to be Saturday afternoon around 3 p.m. Miller advised he had spoken with both Lain and Coburn through Facebook through Messenger. Miller also admitted to using synthetic marijuana on numerous occasions when with Mercedes. Marshall County officers spoke with Coffin, and he advised that Miller showed up with the child on Friday for a while and then had left and came back on Sunday the 15th without the child. Attempts to make contact with Tiffany and Kenneth Lain has been unsuccessful all evening. They have not returned calls to officers as of August 15th, 2021. On August 16th at approximately 8:30 a.m., I finally made contact with Tiffany. She advised she was waiting for a ride from her sister and would be coming in to see me about her missing daughter. As of 11 a.m., she has not come in, and the phone she has called from is turned off. I made contact with her sister, Stacy Milton, and Stacy advised that she had not seen her sister since 3 a.m. when she dropped them off from looking for the baby. Both Coburn and Lain have been uncooperative in looking for their child. Tiffany Coburn was subsequently located and taken into custody on August 16th at approximately 1:30 p.m. outside of the Economy Inn. Kenneth Lain was not with her at the time. She advised she was then... Sorry, that's completely blanked out. The whereabouts of Kenneth Lain. I think she said she doesn't know. Tiffany Coburn was transported back to the Plymouth Police Department and advised of her Miranda rights. During the interview, it was learned that she had been in contact with Kenny Lain and Justin Miller through Facebook Messenger numerous times during the time period Mercedes was missing. Also, during the interview, Coburn admitted to using methamphetamine on numerous occasions. Kenneth Lain was located at the Red Rock Inn at approximately 6 p.m. on August 16th. He was found under the influence of an unknown substance. He was transported to the Marshall County Jail, where he was interviewed. He admitted to speaking with Coburn and Miller through Facebook Messenger. Lain advised that he had been in contact with Miller throughout the weekend, but did not know Miller's whereabouts. On August 18th, an interview was conducted with Justin Miller at the Marshall County Jail. Miller was advised of his Miranda rights. Miller advised that on or about August 14th, he was at the residence in Mishawaka, St. Joseph County, Indiana, and when he woke up, Mercedes was deceased. Miller further advised that on that day he disposed of Mercedes' body at a property located in Stark County, Indiana. On August 18th, 2021, Justin Miller led officers to 1025 East and 50 North in Stark County, Indiana. Shortly thereafter, the body of Mercedes was recovered. So that's the end of the probable cause affidavit.
Yes, so the child was last seen alive on Saturday, and police were searching for days, sorting through many conflicting stories from suspects until they discovered the remains Wednesday night. Mercedes' parents, Kenneth Lain and Tiffany Coburn, say they had given her to Justin Miller last Thursday so they could, quote, have a few days off. Now, when she wasn't returned, they called police on Sunday and started the search. After multiple interviews with detectives, Miller finally told police that he woke up on Saturday at a home in St. Joseph County and found the child dead, so he moved her to a wooded area in Stark County. On Wednesday, Miller led police to where the body was found, and the prosecuting attorney said that this has been a hard case for everyone involved. Justin Miller told police he smoked synthetic marijuana while watching the baby, and he has been formally charged with neglect of a dependent resulting in death, but once the autopsy comes back, that could be updated. Mercedes' parents, Kenneth Lain and Tiffany Coburn, were arrested earlier this week as well. Lain was discovered to be under the influence of an unknown substance during the arrest, while Coburn admitted to using meth, but law enforcement says drug charges for all three are the least of their concerns. Police say that there is not enough evidence to show that the parents knew what the ultimate outcome would be when handing their child over to Miller, and Marshall County officials say that at this time there are no other suspects. Nick?
Eric, such a tragic story here. Obviously, you mentioned that drug charges, the least of their worries here. Do we know how much jail time these suspects could face?
So if convicted, Miller could see between 20 to 40 years in prison, while both parents, Lain and Coburn, could be sentenced to up to 2.5 years in jail. In the newsroom, Eric Pointer, CBS 4 News.
We're all still kind of reeling from the news there.
Morning all, thanks for coming. The search for Mercedes Lain, 11-month-old, ended approximately 9 p.m. in a remote, obscure, densely forested area not far from the Stark County, Marshall County line. It was in Stark County, and she was deceased. Before I go into the details that I am allowed to go into, which are going to be rather limited. I'd like to introduce to you Paul Keenan. He's a special agent in charge of the FBI office out of Indianapolis for a few words.
Good morning. I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of our partners that we work with in the local law enforcement community here, state police. It was a great partnership. Everyone worked hand in hand, no egos. We knew the most important thing was to try and find the young victim in this case. The FBI stands ready to assist, as we did here. Anytime a child goes missing of tender age, we flew in people from around the country at the request of the local law enforcement here to try and bring this to a resolution as quickly as possible. We thank everybody involved. We're sorry it didn't come to the conclusion that everybody wanted, but it was a strong effort. Everyone involved, including the prosecutors, local and state police. Thank you, and I'll pass it back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I am Nelson Chapman. I'm the prosecuting attorney in Marshall County. Some of the agencies, and in my years, I've never seen the depth and breadth of the agencies. Already identified the FBI. That includes Indianapolis Field Office, but also South Bend and Fort Wayne. There's also the FBI CARD, C-A-R-D, stands for Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team. Department of Natural Resources were involved. Marshall County Police Department, Marshall County Sheriff's Department, of course. It is a Plymouth Police Department case. Indiana State Police. Washington Township Volunteer Fire Department, and that's in Stark County. Marshall County Coroner, obviously our office, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There's also several task force officers. I don't know how familiar you are with that concept. Several of the larger police departments have the ability to assign officers to federal task forces. And they actually are assigned for lengthy periods of time, sometimes years. And there are officers here from St. Joseph County Police Department, Elkhart Police Department, and Allen County Police Department. Stark County Sheriff's Department and Mishawaka Police Department also gave assistance. Now, when we're going into the case, several of the local media have heard me say many times, at this stage of the proceedings, we are limited by ethics and statute and fairness to emphasize that the people we're about to talk about are presumed innocent, and that these are allegations, and that they are mere allegations that need to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. So at this stage, all we've reached is probable cause, and not yet a conviction. If there's a conviction in the future, I can go into much greater detail. So if there are questions at the end, please realize there's strict limits on what I can say. So this case started, as far as law enforcement, on August 15th, Sunday, August 15, with a 911 call and a dispatch by Plymouth Police to the Economy Inn, north side of Plymouth. Tiffany Coburn she's the mother of Mercedes, and Kenneth Lain, the father of Mercedes, reported that Mercedes was missing. So subsequent investigation revealed that, and all of this is in the probable cause affidavit that has now been recently amended and filed, and that's why I can talk about it, because it's part of the court record. So the subsequent investigation, there was a lot of confusion from those parents once they were located on the timeline of events. But what it appeared to be was that on Friday, August 13, the parents gave Mercedes to Justin Miller for reportedly a few days break from their child. And he did not bring her back. That's what triggered the 911 call. Eventually a silver alert was activated, and eventually the parents were located because they were not easily found. You'll see that in the probable cause affidavit. On August 16, which would be Monday, at approximately 8:30, Tiffany was finally put in custody, and eventually her husband was also arrested because of what had developed to be a neglect of a dependent case as a level 6. Eventually, Kenneth Lain was located, the father was located at the Red Rock Inn on August 16, the evening hours. Justin Miller was found in Stark County at a residence, and he too was brought into custody and interviewed numerous times. Eventually, on yesterday afternoon, after interviewing, after several times of being interviewed, Justin Miller led officers to this location in Stark County. It was secured as a crime scene. We waited for crime scene investigators to arrive and process the scene, and it was several hours before Mercedes' body was removed from the area. As a result, Kenneth Lain is charged with a level 6 neglect of a dependent. Tiffany Coburn, the mother, is charged with a level 6 felony neglect of dependent, and that involves the allegations of giving the child to Justin Miller under the circumstances that the investigation has revealed. Justin Miller has now been charged, or will be charged, the paperwork is being processed as we speak, with an L1, level 1 neglect of a dependent resulting in death. Level 1 is punishable by a maximum of, well, between 20 to 40 years. Level 6s are 1.5 years to 2.5 years. Their initial hearing will be probably tomorrow, and the court will inquire if they are going to retain counsel or have a court-appointed counsel. And certain dates will be set up, pretrial conference, omnibus dates, and status conferences, and we'll see how that progresses. That's all I have to say. Do you have any questions? I do have copies of the affidavit to distribute when we're finished.
Could you tell us, does it appear that the child, do you have a sense for where the child passed away? Obviously, you find him in this wooded area, but when was this death? The best you can determine.
The affidavit talks about Saturday.
How many autopsy results?
No, we're scheduling that, and we are looking for a specialist in forensic children, pediatric.
So the child died on Saturday. That's to your knowledge.
Well, I'm just saying that the conversations and the timelines that were provided are so garbled. You will also see that there's evidence of drug use, and
are those crimes? Are the drug? Is that something that you might look at charging them for as well? Drug crimes?
That'd be the least of their worries.
Okay.
Does it appear that the child was deposited in that location on Saturday?
Oh, yeah, yes, yes.
Do you believe that the baby was killed there and then brought to this location? Or?
I can't go into that.
Do you have an idea of how she died? I mean, why is this a neglect of a dependent resulting in death versus a murder charge or something?
We're still, we haven't even had an autopsy yet. So that to answer your question is that's the first answer is autopsy.
Do you have any initial indication just based on?
Actually, she was wrapped in. It's not in the affidavit. I can't go into it. So
She was wrapped in something, you said?
yeah.
Okay.
Can we get more of a specific location? You said wooded area, I believe?
Yeah, it's 1025 east, 50 north in Stark County. In fact, the road signs are just like that, right there.
Is there any
It's
significance?
inside.
Any significance to that
Woods.
location that you know of, or was that just a?
Not that I'm aware of. It's not mentioned at all.
So out of all that garbled information, what finally kind of said this was the accurate information that got you to this location?
I didn't understand.
You said there was just a lot of garbled information, misinformation.
The affidavit talks about Justin Miller led the officers there.
I mean, how did he get this sudden sense of clarity, I guess, to finally cough it up?
That's a legitimate question.
Let me ask you this: is your sense that on Sunday, when they were reported missing, that the parents knew what the outcome was, or they truly did not know what had happened to their child?
No, I don't think there's no proof, evidence whatsoever that they knew the ultimate outcome here.
Was this an accident, or was a child intentionally killed?
We're not to that point. It's not in the affidavit. I can't talk about anything that's not court record.
How's the family doing? You've spoken to the aunts and the
They're very upset. They were notified. We had a press conference 2 days ago at the Plymouth Police Department with the grandmother and an aunt. They were upset then, of course, and I know that they were notified last night.
You said initial court hearings are set for tomorrow, right?
Pardon me?
Initial court hearings set for tomorrow?
I believe so. I can't vouch for it, but I would think it would be cranking up.
Do you anticipate amending the charges after that?
No, I have no evidence to suggest amending anything quite yet. The evidence is still coming in. Like I said, the autopsy hadn't even been scheduled.
That's why I was asking if there would be amendments later.
Oh, that depends on the evidence.
Did Mr. Miller admit to killing the baby or just depositing the body?
It's not in the affidavit about any admission.
But he admitted to depositing the body.
He led them there.
Okay. But he didn't admit to actually leaving the baby there. He just led them to the crime scene, right?
He led them there.
Okay.
Said them.
And in the affidavit we got yesterday, it had said that the parents have been uncooperative in finding their child. I believe that's a direct quote. Why? Can you explain why that was in there? I mean, how have they been uncooperative?
Well, you can see from the sequence of events that there was a 911 call, and then they couldn't be found.
Yeah.
And it took some effort to find them.
It also talked about Mr. Miller saying he went to a friend's home in Coons Lake, but possibly went to his girlfriend's house in Mishawaka. Were you able to verify where exactly he was during this time?
Yes.
Okay. And where was that?
Both places. I mean,
he was in
traveled.
both places.
He traveled.
Okay.
So he's indicating that he is using drugs and high at various times during these periods of time between Saturday and Wednesday?
There's not a lot of that in the affidavit, but there is evidence to suggest that.
He admitted to using synthetic marijuana, though, correct? That was in the affidavit?
That was in the original, yeah.
Okay. And the parents were using methamphetamine?
That was in the original affidavit, yes.
Yes. Okay. When were Mercedes' family notified of all this?
As far as the discovery?
Yeah.
10 p.m., 10, 11.
Can you describe the level of frustration that I see a lot of your officers back here who put in a lot of time, you put in some time on this, with the outcome, just from the law enforcement perspective, how difficult cases like this can be when you have a young child involved?
Well, absolutely. Almost all of us I can see are parents, and the common thread that people have with 11-month-old. Everybody wanted to find this Mercedes alive and healthy. So there's, in the same vein, these guys make a living from seeing some of this, and we wanted it to turn out differently. It didn't.
Does the fact that Mr. Lain has a previous charge of neglect of a dependent from 6 years ago, would that cause him to be charged additionally, or that to be an elevated charge or anything like that?
It wouldn't off the cuff right now.
Okay.
It could have other ramifications later on.
Okay.
Mr. Lain previously admitted to trading a minor for drugs. Is there anything in the affidavit about that?
No.
This time around?
No. The affidavit describes a situation of some parents that gave the child to Mr. Miller, and they talked about taking a break. So there's no evidence of any selling or anything.
In the affidavit, Mr. Miller, I believe, told police that he left the baby with a woman at the motel. So did that turn out not to be true, or is that something you're still looking into?
No, we're not looking at that.
Okay. So that turned out to be false information?
Just logically, yes, it was false.
Okay.
The affidavit mentions that Mr. Miller was a family friend of the Lanes. Are you able to elaborate a little any more on the relationship they had, how they knew each other, how long they had known each other?
I cannot elaborate on that.
Okay.
Not that there's anything that I see of significance right now, but I don't know to the extent. But they did know each other, certainly. There was some mention that they might have been related.
Are they related? Is that confirmed, or you don't know? Okay.
And he was related to who, possibly?
Tiffany and Kevin.
Okay.
To Kevin.
You mentioned several different agencies that were involved. Is there a total number of law enforcement officials that worked on this?
Wow. That would be a good answer. Anybody have any idea? If I described it to somebody about when we had briefings back there, I'd say there's 30 people or more. Or 40. And there's some, the resources, and if we can change tracks for a second, the resources that came to bear to go all over the 3-county area, St. Joe, Marshall, and Stark, is actually absolutely astonishing. There's no way a police department like the size of Plymouth, 24 officers, could do any, to send out two-person teams to interview literally dozens of people and gather video from doorbells, for goodness sake, and security cameras from neighbors. But for the notion that we should defund police, this is an example of where that is so wrong and misguided. If anything, we need this help, this bolstering of assets.
Are there any other suspects still looking at interested
No.
Could you confirm the location one more time of where she was found?
1025 East Division, did you say?
No. 1025 East
50 North.
and 50 North, Stark County. Stark County has a road system that would put you, last night it didn't help me, but I got there. And actually that is the very intersection that the woods are, and
How far back into the woods was she?
I do not know that when it was taped off, and nobody was going to go back except the CSI guys for hours. For hours.
And there was no real I mean, when he finally led the officers to this location, he was able to very directly go there, or was he wandering around trying to figure it out again?
I have no indication either way, but my sense is that it was a direct tape. You know.
I mean, how far back? I mean, this was not just right off the side of the road. I mean, was it
Right. You can't see you could probably get there now, but you can't see the location from the road because it's densely forested. There's the property owner is maybe 100, 200 yards north.
When you spoke with that property owner, did they report seeing anything strange over the weekend, or did they talk? I mean, were they able to?
Not in the affidavit.
Okay.
And
yeah,
I would. That's safe to say.
Yeah. No. Chief Bacon, if I could ask you, just because you were the original, sort of what this process has been like, especially as far as the community reaction and community outpouring and stuff on this case. If you could just sort of speak to that possibly a little bit, if you wouldn't mind, so we can hear you.
The community's been very helpful, which is what we look for. We need that cooperation to get information from them. We've had that, the outpouring of support, trying to find Mercedes. The outside agencies have been tremendous. I can't say enough about what they've done. My employees, my officers, my lead detective, Ben McIntyre, he started, so his normal shift's supposed to start normally Monday morning at 7 a.m., and he was in at, I believe, 3:30 or 4. And basically, up until now, he's gone home to sleep for a short time. Other than that, he's been working. My other detective is about equivalent to that, my couple of crime scene people, and we're a small agency. And so the help that we received, it's been outstanding. We appreciate everybody's patience, appreciate the patience of the press. I realize you probably were not getting as much as you wanted. My email would say that. But I appreciate what you guys do, but you have to also realize, like Mr. Chapman was saying, there's only so much we can release. And we were releasing what we could, and unfortunately we got to the point that we were at with the outcome.
Can you tell me how disappointing, I guess, this is, or how your officers took this news? I mean, realizing that, their efforts over the past sort of days were not for nothing, but just sort of unsuccessful.
Yeah. Obviously, as Mr. Chapman stated, officers have children. When you're dealing with a child, it's obviously different. Anybody that has a child, there's that special love. And so you never want to see this happen.
Can you talk about also just what you guys have been, we've obviously have seen you talk about sort of what has been going on behind the scenes over the past couple of days. He said you were going out and talking to witnesses. So can you sort of explain what you guys were doing over these past several days to work on this?
Right. Like you said, there's been teams going out. Monday we started going out to different locations that we knew that he may have traveled. Since that point, they've done new locations and rehashed old locations. Teams of officers put together. We had the command post that would kind of lead the charge on all that as far as putting out assignments. And I've been in law enforcement for a long time. I've never seen anything like it as far as the help that all the agencies working together. It's been outstanding. We just didn't get to the end result, but
Mr. Chapman, if I could just ask you specifically about the drugs. I mean, how big of a factor do you think that played into what happened?
You know, I really want to go into that. I really do. But it's going to be a later time.
Okay.
We just finished a murder trial where methamphetamine was the central driver. But it's going to be another time.
Okay.
Well, is there any, in Justin Miller's record, is there a criminal record, and does it involve anything with crimes against children?
The ethical standards that I mentioned that we are limited to, particularly at this stage of the proceedings, specifically prohibits me in talking about prior records.
And just to confirm, there's no indication that the parents played any direct role in the baby's death?
The charges speak for themselves.
Okay.
L6, level 6, as opposed to level 1.
Okay.
And that's just where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
With that, if there's nothing more, we appreciate all your interest and your help in letting the public know this tragedy.
Yeah.
Is there copies of the probable cause at all?
Yes. So we'll
Thank
end
you
it
so
then.
much.
So I guess just to kind of wrap up, you know, this is an ongoing investigation. Obviously, a lot more information is probably going to come out in the next couple of weeks when the autopsy comes back. I'm sure more charges are going to be filed and more information will be released, and we'll go over it. This case is just so dang sad. It kind of is reminiscent of the Groves trial. Do you remember Jessica and, gosh, I can't remember what her husband's name was, but they had the little boy. And then the McNabb Bell trial. Anytime you start talking about meth and, you know, crazy family full of drug stuff, that's always what pops in my brain. But talk to me about it down in the comments. I am going to be doing a live tonight, I guess, by the time this goes up. Sorry. This has been a crazy week in my life. We've had a lot of these tropical storm hurricane things are moving around a lot of fronts, and those always give me really bad migraines. So I missed a couple of days out of that. I filmed a couple of videos that became irrelevant by the time that they were edited. I had a video to go up about the 2 Utah boys that had the Amber Alert, and I literally was editing doing the voiceover for the closing, and I got the announcement that it had been lifted, so I wasn't going to upload it. So, not complaining. I'm completely okay with an Amber Alert being canceled because 2 kids have been found safe. So, at least we have some good news there. So, I will see you guys tonight on Hearsay Live. Channel membership and Patreons. You can join if that's something that you're interested in. We have a giveaway that I'm going to draw for right before Hearsay Live tonight. So if that's something that you want to do and are going to join, I would advise that you do it today. But one of the fun things that we're going to do is the Patreon members and the channel members, we are all going to play, well, not all of us, anybody who wants to, is going to play the Hunt a Killer game. We all bought a subscription box, and we're going to get probably on StreamYard or Google Meet or something like that, and all play together. Depending on how many people have ordered theirs and get theirs back, we'll divide them up in groups of about 5 to 6 people. No matter how many groups there are, I will be in all of the groups. As the facilitator, I'm not going to cheat. I have the box. I'm going to get ready for my live later on today and do the unboxing and show you guys what kind of stuff is in there. So if it's not something that you can play the first round, maybe you're interested and can play the second round. In the description for this video will be a referral link with a discount code if that's something that you're interested in, along with Patreon membership and channel membership. So there is all that. I've got some new Patreons. Their names will be going on the screen right about now. And other than that, guys, I will talk to you all later. Love you. Bye.